Welcome to a new talk in the Understanding 3 conference. It's my great privilege and pleasure to welcome Mircea Toboşaru. Dr. Toboşaru is currently at the Polytechnic University of Bucharest, and he's a dear friend. If I'm not mistaken, Mircea, we graduated around the same time, and so many fond memories connecting us. His talk today is titled Transformative Experiences, Understanding and Transformative Vocabularies. Dr. Toboşaru, please take it away.
Okay, first of all, thank you for your introduction and for inviting me to this event. Okay, I want to speak today about transformative experiences, understanding and transformative vocabularies, and how we might understand their relation. This is ongoing work, tentative, theoretically speculative sometimes, so my talk will touch on some aspects, will insist on others, and will leave aside certain issues that need to be addressed in principle. In what follows, I want to explore the multiple ways in which we can understand the broad category of transformative experiences. I will take a look at L.A. Poe's original definition of transformative experiences, and I will explain some assumptions that make possible her challenge to the rational deliberation when someone is confronted with the perspective of a transformative experience. This will be useful for my purposes in order to identify a conceptual space of possible mutations of her initial definition of transformative experiences. Different types of transformative experiences will be explored, some more interesting than others. An emphasis will be on transformative vocabularies. In the end, I will make some speculative remarks regarding transformative experiences that center on understanding. We speak sometimes of transformative experiences that can change the entire way someone understands the world, not piece by piece, but in a sudden way, a way that parallels a Gestalt shift. But the transformative experience itself may be an experience of understanding of cognitive grasping an idea or a theoretical structure. This phenomenon that centers on cognitive experiences that cause what we might call a holistic transformative understanding experience, or for short, a Plato transformative experience. My reference is here to Plato's cryptic but central talk about transformative power that the supreme idea of the good has on the mind and soul of the philosopher. Such experience centered on phenomenological aspects of pure cognitive understanding might be relevant if we want to understand not just the full spectrum of transformative experiences, but to understand understanding itself. Let's begin. I believe that it's important to work out, firstly, a nuanced taxonomy of transformative experiences, one that helps us in understanding a rich phenomenon. I will now explore different types of transformative experiences, and I will make some remarks about intentional and non-intentional transformative experiences, about individual and collective transformative experiences, about moral, normative, pragmatic, and linguistic transformative experiences. So first, something about conceptually mapping transformative experience. Transformative experiences are, in their intuitive, non-technical meaning, deep, intense, rare, and memorable experiences that mark us. They can partially or completely change ourselves, the way we relate to the world around us, to our fellow humans, and to ourselves. Transformative experiences are legion. Going to college, falling in love, becoming a parent, a serious illness, depression, a deep friendship, losing your faith, losing a dear one, revelation, addiction, writing a novel, reading a novel, going to space, learning a new language, having a child, grasping a very difficult subject, and so on. Of course, there are also lots of philosophical mental experiments that can be described as transformative experiences. Becoming a vampire, becoming a bat, taking a happiness pill, connecting oneself to the experience machine. Fictional characters in different novels undergo also transformative experiences. Think of Winston Smith in Orwell's 1984 or Rodion Raskolnikov in Dostoevsky's Crime and Punishment. All of them are significant in that they change the self, its identity, its deep beliefs, desire, preferences, values. They are important experiences on a personal and philosophical level. Different dimensions are in play: moral, aesthetical, epistemic, and they are intertwined. Along the intuitive, non-technical sense of transformative experience, there is also, in philosophical debates, an important technical conception of transformative experience to be found in the work of L.A. Paul, especially in her book Transformative Experience. According to her, an experience is epistemically transformative if the only way to know what it is like to have it is to have it yourself. Also, an experience is personally transformative if it changes your point of view, including your core preferences. Finally, an experience, according to her, is transformative per se if it is both epistemically and personally transformative. Becoming a parent or a vampire, or the parent of a vampire, fighting a war, undergoing religious conversion, embarking on a career. Now, some remarks about the first part of her definition. It is easy to understand the notion of transformative experience. It is easy to understand the notion of epistemically transformative experience using the knowledge by acquaintance, knowledge by description distinction. Second, experiences experienced for the first time are by definition epistemically transformative. In the case of all types of experiences, it is true once and only once that the only way to know what it is like to have it is to have it yourself. This is a necessary truth. So these are my remarks. Also, in the case of 2, the idea is that there could be experiences that are not epistemically transformative, but nonetheless cause transformative experiences. I see red for the second time, and just then I have a transformative experiences. Transformative experience. Clause 3 has a double reading, in my opinion. On the one hand, we have a strong reading. An experience is personally transformative because it is epistemically transformative. There, we have here a causal connection. There's also a soft reading. An experience is transformative if it both epistemically and personally, if it is both epistemically and personally transformative, we know causal connection, just correlation. Transformative experiences pose a challenge to rational choice if we assume the replacement model of the self, a strong reading regarding the connection between epistemically transformative experience and personal transformative experience, and finally, the principle of authenticity. According to this principle, or Paul authenticity, we must make choices informed by knowledge under subjective modes of presentation, meaning knowledge via experiential or imaginative acquaintance with the object of deliberation. Here are in play 2 different notions. We can also speak about autonomy. This is self-governance, the use of one's own mental faculties generally, and reasoning especially, to guide oneself in matters of thought and action. This is a basic notion. Besides Paul authenticity, we can have another notion of according to this, according according to this notion, authenticity is self-governance with special emphasis on the discernment, cultivation, and expression of one's deepest and most important passions, motivations, values, and so on. I will work and I will make references to just to Paul authenticity principle, to the Paul authenticity principle. So as you see, according to Paul authenticity, this is self-governance informed by knowledge under subjective modes of presentation, that is knowledge via experiential or imaginative acquaintance with the object of deliberation. Now, a rational choice is an informed choice, but in the case of transformative experience beforehand, a person lacks the relevant experience and so the relevant information about preferences and utilities. Will I have the same preferences that I do now? If yes, will they matter for me as much as they do now? If no, what preferences will I have? An example, if I am analyzing the pros and cons of having a child, then the utility of having a child depends on what it's like to have kids, and so can be known only by actually having kids. I do not know or understand what it's like to be a parent. Your pre-parenthood self may assign a much lower utility, for example, to a quiet night at home, than your post-parenthood self. Which utility should you use when calculating expected value? Will I still want to go to all-night parties? How can I rationally decide before becoming a parent if my decision to become one really maximizes my overall well-being? L.A. Paul writes, all of this raises larger issues for the sort of subjective information their experiences brings is central to many of our most important personal decisions. Any epistemically transformative experiences that changes the self enough to generate a deep phenomenological transformation creates significant trouble for the hope that we could use our ordinary subjective perspective to make rational decisions about major events. There are many ways in which one can tackle this challenge to rational deliberation. A class of solutions are those that make us use some third-person aspects of transformative experiences in order to make possible a rational deliberation. What I have in mind is testimonials, psychological, sociological, and anthropological studies. Such solutions are on a collision course with the authenticity principle, the Paul authenticity principle, that requires first-order familiarity with certain mental states, or, as I said, experiential or imaginative acquaintance with the object of deliberation. The second class of solutions involves appeals to first-person resources or abilities, such as empathy, imaginative projection, activities that simulate the target transformative experience. For example, having a dog before having a child, floating on the water before going to space. A third class of solutions focuses on rejecting the replacement model and working with the different model of the self, one that does not change completely in the aftermath of a transformative experience. Thus, a transformative experience changes first-order preferences, one could say, but not higher-order values, as, for example, my openness to new and radical experiences, my preference for new radical experiences. Those are intact, these higher order preferences, before and after transformative experience, such that it can form the base of a rational calculus of utilities. There are also other strategies, but my focus is not the challenge posed by transformative experiences to rational decision per se. It is an important challenge. However, it assumes a lot, namely some various optimal conditions, including autonomy, freedom to choose, non-coercion, availability of resources, and having time for deliberation. In the beginning, I said that transformative experiences are legion. going to college, falling in love, becoming a parent, a serious illness, a deep friendship, losing your faith, losing a dear one, revelation, addiction, going to space, and also dancing, political participation, making love, and so on. If we think of the structure of many and diverse transformative experiences, we can see certain common features. So now I would like to speak about different types of transformative experiences and as loosely constructed taxonomy for them. L.A. Paul's challenge rests on cases where choice is possible, is intentional, the experience is individual, there is a strong connection between the first person epistemic state and the full transformation of the self, between epistemic transformation experience and, as she puts it, personally transformative experience. Now, a remark about intentional strong transformative experiences, where we have a causal connection between the epistemic transformation and the personal transformation, the epistemic, the experience, and the personal transformation state. A favorite example of L.A. Paul is having a child, or on the fictional side, becoming a vampire. Definitely, these are experiences that have a high probability to be epistemically transformative, but not necessarily. So does it matter, one might ask? I think it does. If there are no real cases of transformative experience in the strong sense, strong transformative experiences, where there is a regular causal connection between epistemically transformative experience and personal transformative experiences, then the L.A. Paul's conundrum is less philosophically interesting. Why? Because it's less relevant to everyday life. Having a child might change completely someone's personality with its values and preferences, but it might not do that at all. Of course, we can imagine an identity lottery machine that assures, after using it, that we have a radical new self. Thus, we can imagine a strong transformative experience that is necessarily granted. But in real life, there seems to be no choices that are guaranteed to change completely the self. Having a child is sometimes intentional, sometimes non-intentional. Some transformative experiences are necessarily non-intentional. I cannot fall in love as I please. I cannot force myself to have a religious revelation. Some transformative experiences can be intentional, chosen, others socially imposed. In some cultures, maternity is something demanded. Others are intentional, like having a child, paying billions to fly in space. Life is full of contingencies, and this is our human condition. It seems that the problem for rational choice is not present anymore if we focus on involuntary transformative experiences. However, I think this is not true, and we can spot a new dilemma. I can ask myself, looking at my past, am I in a better position now after an involuntary transformative experience? Can I now rationally evaluate my current existential state? We can see also a connection with the rational deliberation here. Whatever possible choice faces me in the future, I have to know now in what state I am. This means that it must be possible for me to decide if the switch from a prior state S to a state of post-transformative experience is positive or negative in utility terms. If I am better off, certain future actions or non-action, or maybe just non-action, is acceptable. If I'm worse off, then certain actions might be desirable. But if we adopt the replacement model of the self in the case of non-intentional transformative experience, then LA Paul's problems are coming back. What self is relevant in assessing my current position? From the perspective of my past self, my current state, let's say, it's deplorable. From the perspective of the present, given my current preferences and values, post-transformative experience self, I am in a better position. Future rational actions after a non-intentional transformative experience, I conclude, are not possible. This is a strong conclusion and extends the original challenge to any transformative experience, posed by any transformative experience, regardless if it is intentional or not. Now something about an aspect that apparently it is a necessary feature of strong transformative experiences. Namely, again, strong transformative experiences are experiences where we can find a causal connection between the epistemically transformative experience and the personally transformative one. So now, a necessary feature of strong transformative experience is that they are individual experiences. A transformative experience is, by necessity, an experience of a self. Also, a self is transformed in such experiences. However, some transformative experiences involve more than one individual, and this is a relevant fact. Making love, being a parent, having a transformative Socratic encounter, and so on, are rational transformative experiences, meaning that personal and intimate relations are a core feature of them. Some transformative experiences are further collective. Going to a concert and war, for example, are individual transformative experiences, but also collective. A couple, a community, a nation, thus can be affected by transformative experiences and are the subject themselves of transformative experiences. The collective experiences is not something that is just the sum of individual experiences. Its collective dimension is more than the sum of the individual experiences. We speak of collective guilt and responsibility of nations that are traumatized. The subject of the collective transformative experiences is, in these cases, the community or the nations. It is a provocative question if we can construct a challenge to collective or political rational choice at this collective level, one that parallels L.A. Paul's challenge to individual rational choice. Let's move now to another conceptual option. Strong transformative experiences are both, as we saw, epistemically transformative and personally transformative. Epistemically transformative experience is, in standard cases, an expansive affair. I experience something distinctive, a new type of qualia is added to my phenomenological repertoire. But there are cases, I argue, of strong transformative experiences that involve losing the ability to have some type of experiences. If I become completely paralyzed, it is the lack of experiences that is responsible for my personal transformative experience. Of course, having no external experience is not the same thing as having no experiences at all. There are internal experiences also. I am tempted now to adopt a philosophical problematic move, to go to extremes. It's the let's imagine game, and please be kind to me. Let's imagine a pure Cartesian mind, cognition only, or the mind transferred on a computer, my mind. Can a pure cognitive self still be the subject of transformative experiences? Will it still have qualia, cognitive qualia, if it has no contact with the external world? If the answer is yes, he can be the subject of a transformative experience. Let's now explore another aspect of transformative experiences. Strong transformative experiences include in its structures a subjective mode of presentation that can cause a radical transformation of the self. What about a transformative experience that has in its structure, in its internal structure, not epistemic elements, but normative ones, namely actions of a certain kind. Actions can be transformative. Political, moral, and existential choices are such examples. Focusing on the moral dimension, we can say that making a promise, saying yes to my wedding, breaking a promise, killing someone are, in some cases, actions that transforms the self completely. This opens up the possibility to construct a different transformative structure under the umbrella of what we might call transformative normative action. Thus, we can have this parallel construction along with L.A. Paul's original one. An action is normative transformative action if the only way to change our deontic score or normative status, namely rights and obligations, is to make a moral intentional choice. I will add that my normative status can change also in the absence of intentional choice. Some moral choices are necessary first personal choices in the sense that no one can make them for me. As examples, forgiving someone or making a promise. No one can make a promise for me, and no one can forgive someone in my place. An action is personally transformative if it changes your point of view, including your core preferences. An action is finally a moral transformative action if it is both normative transformative and personally transformative. I think that such moral transformative actions are relevant to the standard cases of rational choice. Becoming a parent is as much as an experience as it is a commitment. What triggers the change of the self might be just the moral commitment, not some experience or set of experiences. Also, saying yes at my wedding is, I think, essentially a moral transformative action, not a strong transformative experience. The phenomenological state I mean could be irrelevant. I will not go into details here, but this parallel notion of moral transformative action can be also further explored using the conceptual dimensions I used beforehand, namely non-intentional, individual, and collective. I will now focus on another class of transformative experience. Some transformative experiences are transformative due to the fact that I have some new abilities or I can engage in some new practices. The first person experience per se is secondary. Teaching, writing an academic paper, learning a new language, gardening, painting, playing chess or football, doing politics are practices. They have, according to McIntyre, internal and external goods. There are standards of excellence for them. We can find traditions that embody certain techniques and styles, institutions that manage external goods, virtues that are necessary in order to achieve excellence in those practices. I will not go into details here, but it is also clear that we can define a new type of strong transformative experience that centers on abilities or practices, not on experiences. We might speak thus of strong pragmatic transformative actions. Finally, some remarks about vocabularies as linguistic transformative experiences. As I indicated in the beginning, there are cases where language is transformative. The language of a poet, a novel, a philosophical work, the resources of a scientific theory can give us conceptual and linguistic means to explore new ideas, new ways of being in the world. There is a spectrum here. Theoretical vocabularies are less likely to be personally transformative. The existentialist vocabulary has potentially a greater transformative power. Why I think it is preferable to speak about vocabularies and linguistic transformative experiences and not about languages, for example, because I think Rorty's vocabulary is useful in illuminating the cases we are discussing now. Thus, without further ado, I define a vocabulary that is transformative as follows. A vocabulary in the first place is a linguistic transformative if the only way to entertain and grasp certain ideas, conceptual or theoretical structures is to master and be able to use it yourself. Second, a vocabulary is personally or private transformative if it changes your point of view, including your core preferences, it becomes your final vocabulary. A final vocabulary, according to Rorty, is a set of words that one uses to justify and narrate oneself. Finally, a vocabulary is a vocabulary transformative if it is both conceptually and personally transformative. Again, and asking for your patience, there are potentially relevant variations of this definition. Rorty speaks of private and public vocabularies. In the extreme case, a private vocabulary is one such that just one person is able to speak it fluently. This is, in fact, the case of the poet. His voice is unique, his metaphors grasping. For us, using such vocabulary might turn out to be impossible and undesirable, but nonetheless, it is intelligible. A public vocabulary is the one in which you can speak to all persons, the one in which we try to maximize discursive solidarity. In light of this end, we try to find the most appealing vocabulary, one that is not only intelligible to everyone, but is appealing and easily learnable. The human rights vocabulary is one example of such public vocabulary, political vocabulary, maybe, one that we think everyone ought to speak fluently. We are trying to import this vocabulary in the social and political life. This public vocabulary is not necessarily someone's final vocabulary, but we think it has somehow to be part of everyone's final vocabulary. So we have another alternative conception of alternative definition of a vocabulary transformation, one that centers on public vocabularies. A vocabulary is linguistic transformative if the only way to entertain and grasp certain ideas, conceptual or theoretical structure is to master and be able to use it yourself. A vocabulary is public transformative if it changes the society's point of view, including our society's core preferences, practices, and moral outlook. It becomes the political final vocabulary of a society. A vocabulary finally is a public vocabulary transformative. If it both conceptually and personally transformative. The final part of my presentation is about understanding as a transformative experience. So the taxonomy is tentative, it's work in progress. So in the end, I will want to say something more about understanding as a transformative experience. Before ending my talk, I want to change focus and concentrate not on understanding different types of transformative experience, but on understanding the epistemic category of understanding by focusing on the ways we talk about phenomenology of the, by focusing on the ways we talk about the phenomenology of cognitive states of understanding. As I said in the beginning, we speak sometimes of transformative experience that can change the entire way someone understands the world, not piece by piece, but in a sudden way. But the transformative experience itself may be an experience of understanding or cognitive grasping an idea or a theoretical structure. This phenomenon that centers on cognitive experiences can cause what we might call a holistic transformative understanding experience, or for short, a Plato transformative experience. My references is here to Plato's cryptic but central ideas about the transformative power that the supreme idea of the good has in the mind and soul of the philosopher. Such experience centers on the phenomenological aspects of pure cognition understanding. I'll put forward some, just one example for discussion relating to what I said before about Plato. But I think there are many more interesting ones to be found. Plato speaks sometimes of understanding as a transformative experience. The philosopher grasps and the philosopher can grasp and must grasp finally how things are in themselves, their essence. It's a unique cognitive experience that transforms the self, his whole being. Things in the Platonic setting are the shadows of ideas. The sun, the good, is a kind of meta idea, the idea that represents the functional relations between particular ideas. At least this is my interpretation. Grasping the ideas, the idea of the good is philosopher's ultimate goal, its final destination. And now the final version of a strong transformative idea, a transformative experience to be added to my taxonomy. This is a highly speculative. I am highly speculative at this point. So we could say that an act of understanding is cognitive phenomenological transformative if the only way to understand something is to grasp its idea. An act of understanding is personally transformative, second, if it changes your point of view, including your core preferences, your whole being. Finally, an act of understanding is Plato transformative. It is both cognitive phenomenological transformative and personally transformative. According to Sellers, philosophy is concerned with how things in the broadest possible sense of the term hang together in the broadest possible sense of the term. Transformative experience can change not just a few beliefs, preferences, values, but our holistic doxastic state. It is an open question if understanding how all things in the broadest possible sense of the term hang together in the broadest possible sense of the term depends on a Platonic personal transformative understanding. As I said in the beginning, this is a work in progress and some confusions and errors are surely present in my presentation. However, I hope that they are provocative enough in order to start an interesting conversation in what follows the question and answers session. Thank you very much.
All right, thanks so much to Mircea Toboşaru for a wonderful talk. And I'm sure everyone already joins me in applauding this presentation. Let's see if there's some questions for Mircea, first in the room and then to our online audience. Sandra, please go ahead.
I actually have a question regarding virtual reality, and it actually be used to elicit epistemically transformative experiences and simulate plausible transformative mediums.
Oh, sorry. Could you hear Sandra's question? Or?
No, I'm sorry.
Okay. Yeah, if you could just come up here. Thanks so much. And thanks everyone for being here with us as we weather these logistic challenges. Sandra, please go ahead.
Hello. So my question was whether virtual reality, immersive virtual reality technology can be used in order to elicit transformative epistemically experiences. Can it actually be used to somehow bridge the gap between the actual self and possible selves? Does it have any role to play in there?
It's a good question. Thank you for your question. Yes, I think it has a role to play. As I said, one can simulate a transformative experience by having, let's say, a dog. I become more responsible for a being. And if we want to explore this path, of course, virtual reality gives us more than having a pet. If I want to see how it is to have a child, so definitely in practice, it's a open. It's a good solution. However, on the theoretical side, I don't think it could give us an answer to the rational choice that challenge that is raised by L.A. Paul.
Thank you for the answer.
Thank you.
All right, thanks so much to Sandra for the question and Mircea for answering. Let's see if there's some more talk, if there's some more questions for Dr. Toboşaru. If not, let me just insert a question of my own. Thanks so much for your talk. I had a question about what you said right at the end, the way that acts of understanding could count as transformative. I was wondering, there's this entire debate in the understanding literature on whether understanding is in a current state or a dispositional state, as I'm sure you well know. So somebody might say, look, Lord Kelvin simply had a different understanding of mechanics than, I don't know, Duhem, for instance, right? And so what we mean when we say that they had this kind of pure rational disagreement and having different ways of understanding mechanics is that each of them repeatedly could sort of off the shelf bring this dispositional understanding they had to bear on specific issues, problems, etc. Right? And so it seems there that the dispositional understanding they possess, that's perhaps stored in their long-term memory, that's perhaps connected with behavioral dispositions, including verbal dispositions, isn't any kind of overt active understanding, though it might have, as Michael Lynch pointed out yesterday and in an earlier paper as well, it might be that moments of coming to understand or moments of insight, or it might be that in understanding, as David Bourget puts it, we grasp the content, and that itself could be purely experiential. So there might be connected cognitive acts to understanding, but still understanding might notwithstanding be dispositional, right? And so if you have this kind of a current V dispositional distinction, right? I wonder how that folds into your suggestion that acts of understanding could be transformative. So is it that moments of coming to understand would be transformative, and then we I think this better fits the Plato instances, or is it that we understand something sort of perhaps sometimes without noting it, without even being aware of it, and then at a later point we just realize that for a while now we've been seeing things differently. Right. So what exactly is it that's supposed to be the current transformation? And I don't have any set or fixed view on this. It just seems to me like an incredibly interesting question, and I just wanted to pick your brains on it. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you for your question. It's an interesting point. I think that understanding has many layers. So we could have, we surely have a phenomenology of understanding. So there are phenomenological features of an act of understanding. There's also the layer that you talk about, somehow I have some kind of abilities, and I could understand something without having any experiential features involved or phenomenological. I would say that one good question is if one of these layers is essential or has priority over the others, logical priority, let's say. That's a good question. What's the essence of understanding? What's contingent and what's essential? However, I'd say something about the phenomenology of mathematical reasoning that Plato alludes to as well. We have mathematicians that say that they understand somehow proofs or mathematical structures in a cognitive experiential way. So they work with the structures that they can somehow visualize. And I'm not speaking here of geometrical figures. We could have mathematical structures. So visual here is not something that could be literally understood. So I think that this kind of experiences, this kind of experience is important in understanding at least some cases of transformative experiences that center on understanding. So the question, I think, it's much more interesting than my answer.
No, not at all. I'm very much a fan of what you just said, and it just seems amazing. Something that struck me. So there are two things that I remember about this. Right after the book came out, I asked Professor Lori Paul. She had this sort of side comment on intellectual transformative experiences, on intellectual epiphanies, right? And she referenced, I think, some earlier work by Bassan Frazen, but there's also this very, the somewhat older tradition from Kierkegaard, right? This kind of the ultimate decision. It's not a transformative experience, but a transformative decision. And for Kierkegaard, I believe these sort of went together. So the reason I mentioned this tradition of intellectual epiphanies is because it might be that an experience could count as personally transformative, or in an intellectual sense, so that the core preferences at stake are not necessarily preferences concerning one's overt behavior, but say habits of thought. When we change our ways, in the sense that we sort of change the way we think of something habitually, or something like that. So what you're saying sounds exactly right, and on the right track, especially with respect to the phenomenology attendant to following the mathematical proof, right? It's So thanks so much for that. Thanks, Mircea. I wonder.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry. Go ahead. Finish.
No, I was just about to ask if there are some more questions, because I didn't want to monopolize the conversation. But it seems there aren't. So by all means, please go ahead if you want. There's something else you wanted to say.
Yes. Regarding what you just said before, I agree. If someone has a transformative experience, a cognitive transformative experience, it's the things that change could be, yes, preferences, values, but also patterns of thought. So I could no. That's an interesting point. So
yeah. Well, maybe we can think about this more together. That'd be ideal.
yes, of course.
Thanks so much for that, and please join me in thanking Dr. Toboşaru once more for a fantastic talk.
Okay, thank you.